I am Mary Beth Westmoreland. I'm the Chief Technology Officer of a cloud software company that you might not have heard of called Blackbaud. And I am going to tell you a little bit about our story. And it's a story that is about total transformation. It was a story that we had to transform our people and skill set, the processes that we use, and definitely our technology. And really, and more importantly, it's really about a cultural transformation for us as a company. And quite honestly, we're still in that transformation, and we've made a lot of progress along the way, but I'll kind of take you through that journey and give you a little bit more information about where we are. And when I think about this journey, I always come back to three visuals, and I hope you excuse a little bit of the cheesy attribute and visuals that I'm going to share with you, but they're very real for me. And I think our leadership team really comes back to these three visuals that really helped us get through some of the more difficult challenges that we experience. And one is, for us, it's about courage or bravery, taking risk. And it's about persistence, like getting over the bad times and through the inevitable bumps in the road. And it's also about the shift in culture to a culture of learning. And I like to use learning more than failure. You can think about it as learning from failure. But the imagery that I use is for courage. I think about the Wright brothers and how scary it must have been for them to jump in a plane that they have never flown, and that had air flight had never happened until that point. And they could have lost their lives, but they risked it for, the vision and the dream of aviation, which I think is amazing. And persistence, I come right back to this guy. I love this quote. I love Jordan's quote and his stamina, right? He said he missed more than 9,000 shots in his career, almost 300 games. And the coolest thing that I didn't know about this is that they actually gave him the ball 26 times that at the end of the game to take that game-winning shot, and he missed it 26 times, which I never knew that. But he said that that's really what kept him going, was that failure is saying that I'm not going to do it the next time. And then learning. And I always think about, I'm a Dilbert comic person, but we went from this culture of you have to know everything about the customer before you writing the first line of code to you're not going to get it right no matter how much you think you know. And that was a big, big change for us. It really just took this total shift in culture. And I'm going to give you a little bit of background on Blackbaud because I think it's really relevant to the story, just to know a little bit about us as a company, what we were trying to do, where we were at. And I'm going to be really candid with you about the technology that we had, the products and the challenges, and then maybe try to take you a little bit more in the journey of how we changed and shifted. So I mentioned earlier that Blackbaud is the world's leading cloud software company powering social good. We've been around almost 40 years, and we have about 3,500 employees across the globe. Our R&D team is about 700 engineers. We have maybe 60 to 70 user experience designers, about 100 people in our product and product strategy organization, product management. So it's a pretty good R&D team, pretty good sized R&D team. And then what we do is we sell software services, data and analytics to the social good community. And that social good community is a lot of different entities. It's those nonprofits who are out there on the ground and their missions are to do good. It's K-12 organizations, grade schools, elementary schools, middle schools. It's the higher ed foundations, healthcare foundations, really any grant-making organization, faith-based organizations. We serve companies like Blackbaud, probably a lot of the companies that you work for as well, that have employees who like to give their time or give their dollars to causes they care about, and they want to be able to provide things like matching giving. And then individuals like you and me who like to give our time and care about causes. We might want to promote and share causes that we care about. And while all of those different verticals that I just described are different, I hope that you can see that there are also some very, very common elements in all of those verticals. We had things like fundraising, donation management, financial management, marketing campaigns. All of these nonprofits have needs in the enterprise just like every company does. They have a complex business model that is different for nonprofits than in the commercial world. And all of these verticals that we serve definitely have a lot in common and a lot of overlap. But at Blackbaud in 2013, I'm just taking back about 7 years ago, all of those verticals that we serve, those customers had very different products with not a lot of overlap, and it really was expensive to maintain. And like every company, every technology company, Blackbaud, we really want to disrupt ourselves. I mean, we had a lot of great products, but man, we really wanted to do some new cool things as technology was emerging. We wanted to bring technology, the very best of tech, to what we felt are the organizations who deserved it most. And so we always talked about trying to get our customers to spend way more time on their mission and a heck of a lot less time on managing their IT and technology resources. Okay, so now I'm going to take you back to 2013, 7 years ago, and I'm going to set the stage because some of you might think it feels a long time ago. I know I do, especially in the world of technology, how it changes. What was happening in the world? Whether you see Prince George, the first son of the Prince William and the Duchess of Cambridge, right? They had their first son. There's Marissa Mayer. That was her first year at Yahoo. We all know how that ended. Didn't end very well. Disney released their first movie, Frozen, the Frozen one, the first Frozen movie. And at that time, 63% of adults we saw record use in social media, and at least 61% of us used mobile subscriptions for smartphones. And so that was a really transformative years in terms of technology, where you see this wave of consumerism, consumer adoption. It was really technology started changing our lives. And that was really what propelled us. We knew that we wanted to see this trend happen and bring the very best to the nonprofits and to all of those verticals that we serve to be able to capitalize on what was happening in regular human life. But it was weird for us. We still, even though, at the time, Apple's App Store marked like the 50 billionth download of an app from their App Store. And we were still using things like CD-ROMs to ship software. Most of our customers at Blackbaud were installing those CD-ROMs on their own computers and managing their own software. And one other interesting thing, in 2013, that was 7 years into the first wave of elastic compute from AWS. And so it wasn't like there weren't trends happening in the cloud already. We just were a little bit behind the curve in really taking advantage of them. And as the shift in the cultural change and our everyday life change, we felt like the time was right to really embrace the power of disruption. And so while we had a lot of different segmented products that serve our customers, where I'm going to focus right now is on a product called the Razor's Edge. And the Razor's Edge, which hopefully you might kind of guess from the name, served our nonprofits who had to raise dollars to support their mission. And it was really the Swiss Army knife of functionality for nonprofits. It wasn't just about donations and fundraising. It was about managing a CRM and managing financials and managing memberships and analytics and hygiene, and really just a whole Swiss Army knife for how to run their back office operations, how to nonprofit to run their back office. And we had a lot of customers using this product, thousands and thousands of customers who used the product. They were happy, really happy using the product. We had, I called it the Swiss Army knife of software applications for nonprofits, but it was over 20 years of development that went into this solution, well over 300 engineers contributing to the code base. And so you can just imagine with a lot of old code in there, but it was also very rich code. And this from a business perspective, Razor's Edge was highly profitable. It was the mainstream, our flagship product, meaning that Blackbaud got a lot of their profitability and revenue from this product. So a lot of people at Blackbaud, when we started talking about how to disrupt ourselves and how to really leverage technology and the changing times, questioned it. They said, why would we ever change? What is broken? And so hopefully when I show you this next screenshot, you'll get a sense of why we felt so compelled to make some changes. So here is the beautiful battleship gray version of the Razor's Edge. And we really had this, again, this monolith of software apps. So it's basically SQL Server, and there's some like logic based in like stored procedures within the SQL Server database. But then we also had a lot of VB6 and VB.NET. It was COM based, and so which was state of the art for the 1990s. And again, we're relying on old code, and churning old code is scary, to say the least. And this application was primarily delivered on premises, as I mentioned, where customers would download it, install it on their own machines. We did have a cool hosted option where we stood Citrix up in front of our own data centers, our own hardware. But if you think about all of these different versions that are floating around in the wild, I mean, it made us so slow. We were so slow because we had to QA and regression test every single release that we put out. And we had to do it against multiple operating systems, against multiple version upgrades. There were different configuration options that our customers would either, put in place or not. And so it was difficult. And one other thing I want to mention, I think that you can probably get this from this screen, is that our customers took a lot of pride in being Razor's Edge experts. A lot of our nonprofits had what they called Razor's Edge DBAs, where all of the employees of a nonprofit would come to the DBA and ask if they needed anything. I need a report, or I need to know a little bit more about this person. That this was not a system where you had a lot of hands in it. And so the value came kind of from that conduit of the DBA. And I want to show you just another quick screenshot of these beautiful WinForms that obviously run on Windows. We had many thousands of customers who just really loved the product, right? And they also had, I think, a fear of maintaining custodianship of their data. They really wanted to keep it on-prem. They felt like it was safer and more secure, which we all know is not the case. And so we had lots of challenges with our customers, really getting them to thinking really hard about how to bring them along for this journey. But we also had a lot of challenges inside our company. And I mentioned a lot of the stakeholders in the company are saying, why would we change if nothing is broken? And our teams, our engineering teams, are so used to working in silos, right? I showed you just one of our products. Razor's Edge is just one product. And think about all those verticals. We had products that spanned all of those verticals, and they were siloed. They didn't share a lot. We had some integrations, but there wasn't a lot of code-based sharing amongst our applications. And so our product teams, our engineering teams, were used to working in a silo where they got to kind of choose their sprints. They kind of set their own culture, their release schedule. And so getting them to think about how to transform was really difficult as well. But we had a vision. We really had a vision. We had a vision of reimagining this whole nonprofit experience for our customers, where we take the very best that cloud technology had to offer and all these trends that were happening around us and really enable them to deliver more highly on their mission. And I'll just show you a couple of screenshots that we put in front of our stakeholders when we first started down the path, right? We wanted to show them that we want to deliver on a promise of custom user experiences, meaning that I'm a user and I log in and that data is right in front of me. What I need to do is right in front of me, and it runs. These are just web apps or not native apps, and we started there where it was device agnostic. I can be out on the field fundraising and I can look it up myself without having calling back to that DBA. We told the story about how to leverage telemetry data to understand if customers use what we ship versus trying to figure out all the requirements up front and get it wrong anyway. And we talked about moving fast and shipping quickly, shipping not just we were shipping quarterly service packs, and rather than we talked about shipping every minute or every second versus every hour or every week, or let alone every quarter. And so we also said we wanted to start with easing our customers in. Like our strategy for this transformation was not to blow up the Razor's Edge that existed. Our strategy was to bring them value that they didn't have today and have it coexist like really nicely and beautifully with the Razor's Edge that they knew and loved. And so that was really our strategy. And quite honestly, we had no idea what we were getting into back in 2013. We knew some stuff. We just didn't know everything. And we spent a lot of time also reimagining the platform of what we would start with. And we had this vision of making sure that whatever we did that was going to serve our customers in the form of a product, that we would consider the developer experience along the way. We didn't want our customers to have to come to us for everything or to rely on us for every innovative idea. We wanted to create a platform and an ecosystem of developers, customer developers, partners, and really anyone who had a great idea about how to do good in the world to open our platform up so that our customers could then take advantage of the goodness that we were doing. Okay, so remember, this is 2013. And so here's what some of our stakeholders are saying. Not all of them, mind you. We had a lot of really smart people at Blackbaud who really saw that we needed to do something and do it quickly. But I just want to kind of give you a sense of some of the kind of the negative questions that we got. We got, oh my gosh, we can't possibly ship updates every day to our customers. They're going to hate us. They don't like change anyway, so we're just going to keep changing their software. We couldn't do that. We heard we can't do this because clients are never going to move to the cloud. They want to keep their data. We're not going to disrupt them. Some people asked why are APIs important, which was always kind of, I always scratched my head on that one, but they didn't want to, like, people would question the idea of investing in interfaces that we would make public versus creating features. Why don't we just do the work ourselves? We heard we tried this before, and we had tried some things before, and we kind of learned from that and applied it. So the culture is, we tried it before and we can't do it, we can't do it. And it was, we tried to say, no, we know we failed. Let's learn from that. Let's do something a little differently. And that kind of goes to this next one. We have to build everything ourselves because we can't give away our IP, because we can't support external developers. It's going to be too complicated, because we can't, because our business model doesn't support it. And I can let you read the rest of it. One interesting one I do have to point out is, I remember this conversation I had with one of our product leaders about our open sourcing strategy. We wanted to open source, and we started with AngularJS. I mean, come on, all we were doing is, really capitalizing on the work we're doing and handing that out as an on top of an open source platform and live. But we really had to get people to shift their whole way of thinking. And it really took a lot of work. And this is what it required. It required changes in our architecture and our technology. It required changes in our process, our skills. We didn't have people who understood. We didn't know if we had people who understood a lot in our public cloud offers, because we didn't really leverage the public cloud highly at that point. And we were wondering, do we have the DevOps skills? Do we have the people that we need to do it? And definitely changes in our culture. And I think you kind of get that. And we started with a small team, right? We started with this team. We called them the X team. And we told them, try stuff. You're going to fail. We said, hey, you own everything. You own the code that you write. You own the deployment. You own the measuring if customers are using it, and you own it if it goes down at 2 a.m. on a Sunday. So we really kind of tried to instill a very small team with that premise, thinking that once they started nailing it, we would start to go viral across the rest of our 100+ Scrum teams. We told them no migration, because we wanted to bring our customers along in this journey. We told them we're going to stop at the dates. When you have quarterly service packs, there's always these inevitable, like, we need to finish this feature because we're going to drop to main and we're going to do regression testing, and we have to stop, we have to do a code freeze. And it was very date driven, and we told them, forget everything you know about dates. We trust you. We trust that you're going to move fast and that you're going to do the right thing. We want you to delight our customers. Don't worry about dates. We'll worry about the dates. And so it wasn't a cakewalk. We spent a lot of afternoons and sessions like this. This is that same team. We said we have a sense of urgency. We want to ship stuff. We don't have another 30 years to develop the next gen version of Razor's Edge. And so the strategy that we put in place was, build a born in the cloud, native microservices-based architecture that connected back to our legacy Razor's Edge database. We wanted to start with a CI/CD pipeline that ships code every second, minute. We built a system of authentication so that when you authenticate, that you do it one time as a customer. You didn't have to authenticate multiple times if you have multiple products. We built a system of entitlements. So as a customer, I needed to know what services I'm entitled for. So think about those, like, platform foundations that we had to build before we could actually really ship code. And we wanted to leverage all of that telemetry data to be able to improve as we went. And we had this team also set in place a vision for a managed API environment so that we could start to actually ship code to developers as we did internally. And within 18 months, and that might seem like a lifetime to you, but when you have to build a platform before you actually ship value, we shipped. And here you see those same screenshots that we actually delivered to our customers on top of the Razor's Edge. It was built all on those app services, all microservices-based architecture. We leveraged public cloud and cloud infrastructure. And we kind of coined it Sky because we needed a name for the platform, because it wasn't a product. That was part of our cultural transformation. It was a platform. And that was exciting. It was really an exciting time. And here you see an example of a work center, just a little bit more of a close-up view, where as a user, I log in anywhere from any application, any device, and I get this access to this application. I get access to the data that I have permissions to see, and I am able to self-service to get all of the information that I need without having to call a DBA. And it was, at this point, we also had some open source code that was shipping in GitHub. Here's a kind of a cool view of the work center that we shipped a couple years into it, which it's pretty cool. I wish I could show you a demo of it because it's really cool in motion. But the idea is that we also leverage analytics. So part of our platform play that those folks came up with very early on was that we were going to build a data platform. And the goal then in the beginning was that we were going to use the data platform for things like, we were going to use, we were going to append data, make sure that it's rich, that it's high, we apply data hygiene rules to it, and we are going to be able to deliver reports, on a scalable basis. But what we missed in all of that is once we started all of our products that existed, pulling them into that data platform, we had these beautiful, rich analytics that helped to inform systems of action. And here's what we saw as we learned, as this culture of learning took hold. What you're looking at is a work center where I, as Ben, can log in, but it's giving me very specific actions that I need to take. It's not just saying, here's the data, it's saying, here's what you should do with it. And those actions are based on benchmarks because we know, because we see it across this vertical ecosystem that we serve, we know what customers do that drives the greatest outcomes, which is beautiful. So we basically take that and we completely enrich our user experience designs through that platform play. And then I'm going to and I know I'm going fast, so this is actually, I have so much content that I'd love to dive deeply into, but I only have 25 minutes, so I'm going to keep rolling through this. I wanted to just touch really quickly on the 4 biggest lessons that we learned. We came into it with principles and some ideas, but we came out of it with some lessons. And the first one is the hard stuff isn't the code. It wasn't the code, it was the culture. It was how important the principles were that we put in place, that learning, even that example that I just showed you of the data platform and how we brought analytics to bear for our user experiences, that came from a learning. And we realized that it's not the code and the tech that is our secret sauce, really, it's the data. And so I'm just going to briefly touch quickly on these. And again, the culture. What we learned is that this total mindset challenge, right? Blackbaud didn't want to put customers into market. We didn't think open was good. Not all of us felt like open was the right strategy. We felt like quality was owned by QA, right? We would build, engineering would build, and then we would kind of throw it over the fence and QA would test. And then they would throw it over the fence to those infrastructure engineers and they would copy and manual install and config. And it was just this very different role base that we had to change. And that cultural shift was not easy. We didn't have a lot of DevOps expertise. I mentioned that. And teams owned products. They owned the code base that they owned. They weren't thinking about the services that they build, the dependencies on services, how to light up APIs. It was just a really big change for us. And so what we did was we said, move quickly. We tried stuff in controlled environments. We shared all of those postmortems across our 700 plus engineering organization. Again, we told teams they fully own themselves, own everything that they have. And we took QA out of it. We actually said no more QA engineers and QA analysts. We're going to have everybody focus on, as a software engineer, your job has changed. And that was a big shift for us. I mean, luckily we had some really technical QA folks who we were able to move into different roles in the company for the most part. We did lose some. And then we said, be open. Be open. In fact, if you have to ask, is it okay? Just do it and try it and learn. And we said, again, we have to reframe those non-functional requirements of how to make sure that we really started with a platform that was going to support all the scale and performance that we needed. Which takes me to number 2, reiterate and stick to your principles. Our principles we started with were pretty, we thought, simple, and we didn't know if anyone would ever really care about them, but oh my gosh, I can't tell you, looking at those photos of that team sitting in that room, it brings me back to how many times we came back to these principles when it came time to making these really difficult decisions. And those principles were, and this is like the first one that we said, is keep your code in a constant state of goodness. If you can't say with clarity that your code can build and ship on a dime as you check it code in, then that's a problem. And I remember engineers saying, how do we do that? We've got 10 people in the code base. How do we do that? And so it was really getting them to think about the problem that we were solving versus the answer to it. And of course, we we segmented the code base, of course, as we do with services, and then got them to build as soon as that code checked in, and then applied a lot of like pack testing and other testing, automated testing to the work that we were doing. But it was a journey for us getting there, and that really changed a lot of our culture, because we had to have things like really well-defined interfaces on our services. We had to be, have testing on those interfaces. I think you get it. And I mentioned non-functional requirements as well. The other thing we said is don't break stuff. Like, don't break anything. Like, if you might have an issue with your own code, but let's minimize the risk that your code has on other code. And so we would do things like, of course, light up multiple services within a single page application framework. So if one goes down, not all of them go down. Again, with the dependencies on the service-based architecture. And we said, again, start with those non-functional requirements. It was really important for us to get the platform right. And we said, delight customers. Solve problems for them. Don't worry about what's in Razor's Edge today. Worry about what problems we're trying to solve for our customers and reimagine them. And our customers include developers. So we wanted to have a delightful experience for any developer who wanted to come to Blackbaud and leverage our platform as well, which, that was, again, a pretty big transformation for us. Perfect software is a farce. We said you're not going to get it right the first time. But here's what we asked our engineering teams. And this was really, honestly, we asked them, but this is what they came up with. This principle of, we're going to try stuff and we're going to break stuff and we're going to fail. We're going to minimize that, right? Don't break other people's stuff. So like, don't break stuff means don't break other people's stuff, and minimize what you break. But the other thing is that we said, when when maybe we get something wrong, maybe something escapes, a defect escapes, and customers notice it, right? What we wanted to do is say, we want you to find it before our customers do. And so that was really the lessons that we learned. And I'm running out of time. I just want to give you a quick sense of our screw ups. We had a lot of them. We said, we started with, we have to have parity in the application. We said we want to completely start from scratch. We said we want to give customers what they ask for versus what they don't ask for. And so we learned a lot along the way. We talked a lot about how we wanted to get out of that incremental thinking of, here are the next 10 things we need to do. And like we said, we're going to go fast and we're going to take risks. So, and there's so many different examples where I could go into of those that we just screwed up completely and really learned, and it really cemented our transformation. Again, code wasn't our secret sauce. It's the data that drives the outcomes. Like, we're sitting on this gold mine of beautiful analytics that can drive everything, not just cool reports, but benchmarking data. And I just want to show you this. Here's an example of what analytics does for our customers today, right? They log in and they can see what other organizations are doing that are driving the best results. And we provide them with actions, and we can actually take those actions from within the system, so they don't have to worry about, how do I configure something? How do I create a campaign? And there's some really cool data insights. So we thought, even with reporting, we wanted to provide insights and data that our customers didn't have just a few short years ago. And our platform strategy, I'm just going to quickly show you this. So exciting. We have an app marketplace. We've got 28% of our customers are leveraging external applications that work beautifully and seamlessly together with our Sky, our platform-based applications that I just showed you. Lots of developers are partying on those APIs. Couldn't be more proud about it. And we've got lots of customers who are also using it too.